Hey everyone, welcome back. We are actually going to get into creating our own variations and component properties. So right now, what we have here is we have this card that I created. I'm actually going to show you how I created that card, but we're going to start with buttons and we are going to make our own button component. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start from scratch so you can see, but I'm going to use some of these components here and you can too. Okay, so I'm going to call this my button label. So that's my text layer. I'm going to wrap that in an auto layout frame with a Shift A. And I call this button. Okay. And now what I'm going to do, I'm just going to call it test button so I don't get confused. And then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to make this button white. So I'm going to add that fill there. That's fine. And let's zoom in a bit. We're going to make sure this is centered. And we're going to set a fixed height. Let's do something like 48. It's going to be a big chunky button. And the width, that's fine. In terms of the padding inside the auto layout frame, we are going to do something like maybe 32 pixels. And we'll do like a 4 pixel border radius at the top. Okay, so now we have our button. Super nice button here. And you know, I think we'll just maybe bump up that size to like 16 pixels. Okay, so we have our button. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to throw in one of these components. So I'm going to throw the arrow forward component in there. And I'm going to make sure that's spaced nicely. And then I'm going to turn this into a component. So I'm just going to press this button. We're not going to make variants with this button just yet. We're just going to keep this as one button. We're not really worried about hover states. We can do hover states and, you know, maybe it'll make sense to do a hover state for this, but we are just going to keep it like this. And we're going to work on creating properties for this card component. So let's jump in. All we have to do is go into this properties panel on the right sidebar. Once it's a component, click plus, and we are going to create a Boolean property. And I'm going to call this icon. And right now the value is going to be set to true. And that is because, you know, it's showing right now. So I'm just going to keep that on. And I'm going to leave it for now. Because right now it's not connected to anything. To connect it, I can go into here, go to the layer section, because this is going to be for your Boolean properties, because it's showing and hiding. So it'll actually hide the whole thing. So it's going to be in the layer property, and you're just going to select the one you want to connect it to. So now that one is connected with this little indicator, and you can disconnect it there if you want. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go back into my test button over here. I'm going to create another property. It's going to be an instance swap. And where am I going to do? Okay, so that's my instance swap. I'm going to just, first I'm going to say icon type. Then I'm going to go to pick an instance. Over here, where is it? I'm going to call this arrow. There you go, arrow forward. Okay, so once again, it's not connected. So I'm going to go into that type of component over here. And this is the instance panel. So this is the normal instance panel where you can, you know, swap everything. And now you can actually connect it. So apply the instance swap property. So this one's called icon type. And it's showing up there. And the last property we are going to apply for this button is the text property. And over here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just say label. And the value is going to be button label. So I'm going to create that property. And obviously that one is not connected. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this. And as you can see on the bottom right here on the right sidebar, we have one area here called content, and we can connect that one. And there we go. Now when we take a copy of this component, we can turn it off the icon. We can also swap the icon. And we can also change the label. And that's how you create a button with component properties.